you wouldn't have shared these reasons with the National Commissioner before the 31st of December 2024?
No, De Haas and Mashala, and I did have a discussion with the National Commissioner about them, and I think they wrote letters to the Portfolio Committee last year already.
Honorable Mathes.
Thank you. Just on a question of clarity, Minister, did you say you engaged the deputy ministers, both of them, during that time, or did I mishear you?
Chair, I just want to have a clear understanding of the response that has been given by the minister to the question about the reasons. Is the minister saying the commissioner was aware that part of the reasons that led to the disbandments is what was written by Mary De Haas?
I can.
My observation in this regard, as indicated above, is that the further existence of the team is no longer required, nor is it adding any value to policing in South Africa. Although those are the two reasons that you gave to the National Commissioner.
Look, there are three directives that I gave. But on this particular one, on the disbandment, I wasn't necessarily getting involved in outlining all the reasons that I had. But this was just an indicator, an indication, if you like, that I could indicate in the letter. But it was not all necessarily, because as you see, this is a very, 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 on all three, they are similar. Just an outline that I could squeeze into the letter, because I wanted it to be very concise and not...
So can we accept that these are some of the reasons, but not all the reasons?
Yes, particularly...
And then perhaps to assist you, the other one would have been the one you contend was discussed in the November meeting on the organizational structure.
That's why
that was also, so that's not here.
And the budget, the budgetary issues, and the concerns that were raised by the people that I said to you and your team that they need to be afforded an opportunity. So there's to address the Arrow comment. So there's a whole range of issues here, but what I wrote there was merely a high-level summary of what I had as a concern, but the actual reasons, I outlined them yesterday, and for your benefit again, I started off with...
I wanted to summarize that for you. Minister, please understand we do have a time constraint. This is our second day, and obviously you're entitled, and that's the
so as long as
space we gave you yesterday. You spent a lot of time on outlining your reasons.
Yeah. As long as we agree that there's a whole range of issues, but I couldn't squeeze all of them there.
I was just addressing to what is here and what you wrote, and what may have been in your mind at the time when you sent the directive. You explained yesterday to the Honourable Committee these other reasons. They've heard you. They will no doubt ask you questions on them. So that is part of the record. Just to summarize, you spoke about budgetary constraints, you spoke about De Haas, you spoke about Mashale, you spoke about Fort Hare, you spoke about Fadil Adams, and then on page 64 of your statement, paragraph 140, you also spoke about some other complaints, which you, perhaps to be fair, you either won't or can't disclose. They may have been conveyed to you in confidence or privately. But in terms of our National Commissioner, who, assuming you were authorized or had the power to do so, to direct that the team be disestablished. What you're telling him is the team is no longer required. It's not adding any value. And that is, to use your words, that is my observation. And then there would have been the other communication of in the one and the other meeting we don't have a minute of, the 24th of November.
Yes, and I want to remind you of the new organogram that I spoke about at length from 2019, based on the study. Not just the organogram that has just been signed now, but that was agreed.
The 2019 one.
Yes, proceeding up to the new one the organogram that we built on the studies that had been done in the department before that. Yeah.
So those would have been the reasons that the National Commissioner would have been aware of at the time that he received your directive, which would have been, I think, on the 2nd or 3rd of January, a few days after your directive. But he wouldn't have been aware of some of the other reasons that you mentioned yesterday. Would that be fair to say that?
No, I wouldn't have been aware of.
No, he wouldn't have been aware of these other reasons.
Like which one?
Sorry?
Like which one?
No, let me put to you what he would have been aware of from what is in this directive.
Okay.
And the discussion you say that took place in November of 2024, which is before the directive, about the status of the unit and where it fits into the picture. And we discussed that. We said, well, it wasn't an express item on the agenda where the PKTT was discussed, but you said it was mentioned. He mentioned it. So he's aware of that. But some of the other reasons, like the budgetary constraints, De Haas, Mashale, Forte, Fadil Adams, further complaints, you wouldn't have shared those with him. You wouldn't have shared these reasons with the National Commissioner before the 31st of December 2024.
No, De Haas and Mashale, they wrote these things, the bulk of them, last year. And I did have a discussion with the National Commissioner about them, and I think they wrote letters to the Portfolio Committee last year already. And remember that I also said about Mashale, I even referred some matters, her profile to the IGI to say, I keep on getting correspondence from this lady shortly after I got appointed. So I was aware, and National Commissioner did say, oh, now this lady I'm aware about, she has also shared things with me, but she complains, and we look at what she's complaining about, and so on. So I was aware of all these things including, I was aware, and the department, National Commissioner, would have been aware of all these things. I may not have shared everything with him, but they were aware of them. That includes my main reason, my argument that we may be dealing with something that is outside the PFMA at the end of the day, as I advanced yesterday.
Well, I'll put it to you, and I don't want to debate it any further. The record will speak for itself. That's certainly not the impression we got from the evidence of the National Commissioner.
No, it's...
He said the sum total of his evidence on the directive is that this came as a huge surprise to him. It was never discussed with him. The last time he saw you and you saw him was at, I think it was a parade on the 28th of December. Or 28th of December. Sorry, it was apparently, I'm corrected, a funeral. On the 28th of December, you were there. I think it was in KZN. Kunazi was also there. And this it would seem would have been a perfect opportunity for you to say to them, although it's obviously not appropriate perhaps at a funeral, but to go aside afterwards or whenever to say, gentlemen, you know, I've been grappling with this thing. I've received all these complaints. I've received these letters from De Haas and Mashale. I mentioned it to you in the November meeting, and I am now quite convinced that this team should be disestablished.
Now, that was National Commissioner's evidence. I'm here to give my evidence.
Yeah, sure.
And that is not what I'm saying. I am saying after the 28th, I got more time when I got home to complete what I was developing. After, in those 2 or 3 days, after resting and not going up and down, and I started summarizing in my head and getting to think what I would settle with finally, which then gave rise to me writing that letter on the 31st. I may have on the 28th or before, and you don't normally go to a funeral and then pull people aside. That's unnatural. It can happen only on post-thinking. That you could have pulled people aside, but natural in the flow of things, it doesn't flow like that. But I'm saying there were a number of things that were in my head for quite some time after our meeting on the 21st with deputy ministers, how to approach, how to package, how to engage the National Commissioner. So I had not completed my thinking by that time until I settled down and thought carefully about what I wanted to do.
Well, even more so, Minister, with respect, I mean, you could have at least mentioned to...
Honorable Matthias.
Thank you. Just on a question of clarity, Minister, did you say you engaged the deputy ministers, both of them, during that time, or did I mishear you? You said there was 2 days. I heard you say something about deputy ministers. Can I just get clarity, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm speaking about a day when I convened a meeting with the 2 deputy ministers to discuss what we had been receiving since we got appointed, in what form and what we had done about some of the things that we received, and so on. We had a discussion, and the resolution there said, go and engage the National Commissioner. But we didn't discuss the format and the details. So it was left to me to think what I would engage him on and how and all of that. And this is what I say. I ended up with the letter of the 31st.
As I was about to say, Minister, even more so on the 28th, it may not have been an appropriate moment to discuss the demise of the PKTT when you just buried one of your soldiers.
Near Council, there is a hand of Honorable Nomvalo behind.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I just want to have a clear understanding of the response that has been given by the Minister to the question about the reasons. Is the Minister saying the Commissioner was aware that part of the reasons that led to the disbandments is what was written by Mary De Haas? Or he says the Commissioner was aware that Mary De Haas had written something like that, but he was not aware that that which she wrote was not part of the reasons that led to the disbandment. Because knowing that Mary De Haas had a perspective, and that her perspective is constituted the reasons for the disbandment are 2 different things. So I just need a clear distinction on that. What response is he giving to the council? Was he aware of the perspective, or he was aware that the perspective of Mary De Haas formed part of the reasons for the disbandment. What was their response? I just need clarity on that.
Minister,
Thank you very much. I am saying when I settled down in those 2 or 3 days, I brought back everything that I had come across since I had been appointed. What do I do with these things? Because I had to weigh them and say, what do I do with them in order? Remember, at the top of my mind is the imperatives of the 7th administration. It is the safety of the people. It is the concerns that I raised with the National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioners, and Provincial Commissioners in November, when we met them at Give a Screw On, saying, I'm being haunted by murders, the high rate of murders, the proliferation of firearms in communities and the havoc that these firearms are causing, and the drugs that these things are causing. So I kept on thinking about these matters very, very hard and very, very to the best of my ability in terms of thinking. And I then say, settle down. What do I do with all these things that I've collected in my capacity as Minister of Police on behalf of the people of South Africa? I then, Mary De Haas's letters and concerns, Mashale's letters and concerns and everything, the budget, how we are using the budget, and possible alternatives of using the budget. The work within SAPS that started way before I arrived and what could have been done and so on. All that bundle of things constituted what I settled down on and said, let me write a letter and it must take this particular form. And I did indicate yesterday that one of the things that came into my mind was to say, when the year starts, how do we start in a manner that brings about vibrancy along the lines that constitute expectations of the people on us in a way that will cause us and force us to, engage. And this thing is about change. How do you go about changing some of the narratives that should change within SAPS in favor of the people of South Africa, consolidating their safety? That is the matter. That was not just anything that Mary De Haas wrote, but how do I bring all those things as a collective so that they are put in a manner that constitute my reasons when we met. So this is just a high-level summary on the 2 issues, but the breakdown of those matters is what I have submitted here.
are you fine, Honorable Member?
Not really, Chair, but I think as it continues, maybe I'll be fine.
Okay.
But I'm not fine.
Just carry the question on your shoulder. And at the right time, you can offload it. Senior Counsel, you may proceed.